So, liturgical note to begin the homily. Yesterday, late afternoon, we received an email from the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, letting us know that the distribution of communion, distribution of the Eucharist, can now happen during the context of Mass again. Sorry, we did not send out any communication ahead of time. We got it at 4:54 p.m., and the 5 p.m. Mass was 6 minutes away. So I did not get that email in time, by the way. But what does that mean? It means, once again, that we'll be starting to, at the 8 o'clock Mass, and all the Masses following, for the most part, we'll be distributing Eucharist like we used to during Mass. We'll still go up the side aisles, but remember, you've probably been, accustomed now. It's a habit now to leave right after receiving communion. That's not the habit we want you to have. All right, we want you to go back into your pews for the prayer after communion, which actually makes sense now for you because you've received. And then, of course, the final blessing. And also, as Carrie let us know last night, it'll be the first time she's playing a recessional at Mass since being here. So once again, it's nothing too complicated. It's just back to receiving the Eucharist at the normal time. The only difference from before the pandemic is we're going up the side aisles instead of the center aisle for now. One of the things about this time of the year, in September, it's kind of always known as the wedding season. It usually starts Memorial Day weekend and goes not only through Labor Day, but usually through October here in Minnesota, maybe even November with that beautiful weather. But this year, of course, we know that the wedding season has been interrupted a little bit. Of the weddings that have been scheduled here at St. John's, I'd say about 50% have been pushed back. Others actually have come here because they were scheduled in a different state. But the 50% that have continued to stay on have been some beautiful weddings. And one of my favorite weddings, by the way, actually was right in the midst of the pandemic. It was right after Easter, and there was only 10 of us here in the church. So it was just a beautiful ceremony. But of course, with a limited number of people, not only at the wedding ceremony, the wedding Mass or service, a lot of the receptions have changed as well, which I think is okay in one sense, by the way. Because here in Minnesota, we have this unique, or I'll say interesting, tradition of at a wedding reception to do what? To go ahead and ding the glasses, right? And so that the couple kisses. And it's always a very annoying thing, I believe, and so does my family. So my brother had this great idea at his wedding. Instead of dinging the glasses, what you'd have to do is you'd have to, as a table, get up and sing a song with the word love in it. And I don't think it was unique to him. I'm sure other people have done this as well. I think one of the tables, the first song that was sung was from Barney, right? I love you, you love me, one big happy family. But I believe the song that my table chose, or my friends and I chose, because I was probably at the head table, but it was a song that was from the Saturday Night Live sketch. It's from Holiday from the 1980s. Maybe you know the song, "What is love? Love, baby, don't hurt me." You know that one? If that can now get stuck in your head, that's even better, right? Maybe you can do the action a little bit. But that question, right, of what is love? Because it's so interesting that all these songs have love, but they're all kind of different meanings. And of course, we can look at it theologically of what is love. Well, there's eros, there's philia, there's agape. Agape, of course, being that perfect type of love, that total self-gift. But do we truly see love that way? Do we know how to act out in a loving way? Our readings today, it's actually all about love, which makes sense. God is love, by the way. But our second reading from St. Paul to the Romans states what? Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. For the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. He goes on to state, these commandments: you shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But we know that love is not just a feeling. Love is not, as long as you feel good, then that's love. As long as I make you feel good, then that is love. Because love is more than this, that feeling. It's more than that eros, we could say, type of love. It at least should be that philia. Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, right? Should be that friendship type of love. And maybe even if we can, get to that agape type of love. So if we at least want to get to that philia, then we have to say, okay, what does it mean to be a friend? What does it mean to love someone as a friend? We could say, let's interpret, instead of love, we could put the word, what does it mean to help someone as a friend? We don't often think of love and help in the same way. But if we love someone, then we're going to want to help that person. And as we look at the readings today as well, we can see that one of the ways that we're able to help someone, to love someone, is to do something called fraternal correction. What does that mean? It means that we correct them in a loving way if we see that something they're doing is wrong. It's taking them away from God, taking them away from God's love. We hear about this in our prophet Ezekiel today, right? Ezekiel is called to be this watchman over Israel. And what does a watchman do? If we just go back in the old days, there'd be those city walls. A watchman is looking out into usually the nighttime when they close up the gates of the city for any attacks that may be coming up. And they'd warn people there's an attack coming. But in this context, as the watchman of Israel, the Lord states, I've appointed watchmen for the house of Israel. When you hear me say anything, you shall warn them for me. And if you warn the wicked, trying to turn him from their way, and they refuse to turn from their way, they shall die for their guilt, but you shall save yourself. So Ezekiel is called to act in this way of love for his fellow Israelites, to warn them of any attacks that may come, and that they're called to repent of their ways. Jesus, of course, in this gospel passage from Matthew, which is kind of this fourth discourse of Matthew. We've gone through 3 already. We have one more to go after this week. But this is more about the authority of the church and what the church stands for. Actually goes a little bit more into here of that fraternal correction. If your brother sins against you, what are you called to do? Go run and tell everyone else and don't confront him? No. Go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have won over your brother. And so it's confronting them not out of anger, not out of hurt or resentment, but out of love. Not only if it's something that they've done to you, but if you see an action going on and you feel God is calling you to say something, then we respond to that. And it is so hard to do sometimes. What if it affects our friendship? What if it affects our relationship? What if they resent me? Or all these thoughts that begin going through our mind. But if you love someone, don't you want to help them? I had a professor in seminary say one time, I know I've said this before, but he says, a true friend is not just someone you go to the bar with, or someone you go golfing with, or someone you go on vacation with. A true friend is someone who will call you out for something you are doing wrong. because that true friend actually cares for you and wants the best for you. That friend truly loves you. That's what it means to love. And then be able to accept that as well. Just like it's hard to maybe correct someone, it's hard being corrected. I know that. When someone corrects me, I'm like, what's our natural reaction? You tense up. You get defensive. You go, that's not true. And you get upset a little bit. But then you think about it. If someone actually has that courage and is doing out of love, instead of having that reaction, we should have that reaction of, thank you. Thank you for loving me, for correcting me. Thank you for responding to God's prompting. So that question of what is love? Love is being able to be like Christ. Love is able to have that true friendship and that ability to love someone so much, to care for someone so much that you're able to correct them because you want the best for them. And if you love that person in return as well, you'll be able to accept that correction and repent of our ways, repent of your ways, and continue to turn to God.